The morning sun trickled through the leaves, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air above the farm. I sat on the worn steps of my porch, cradling a steaming mug of coffee, feeling serene. My farm was a refuge from the frantic pace of the world, settled on the outskirts of a neighborhood ruled by an overzealous HOA. Aside from my loyal rooster serenading the dawn, my days were typically peaceful, until the screams shattered the calm. My partner, Ben, burst to the front door, eyes wide and wild. "It was there!" he shouted, breathless, pointing toward our bedroom. A drone. It was right at the window. My heart raced, not from the unexpected scare, but from the realization. This wasn't merely some child's toy. This was a surveillance drone. I rushed inside, my bare feet slapping the cold floor, as a bolt of anger surged through me. That drone was an invasion, a very personal invasion. "Did you see who was flying it?" I asked, trying to mask the rising dread. "No, it just zoomed away." "But I have a good guess," he said, frustration lacing his voice. "This is Susan written all over it." Susan, the self-appointed queen of the HOA. She had it out for us ever since we moved in. The way she glared when my roosters crowed, or how she complained about Ben sunbathing in our backyard in nothing but a smile. Friendly confrontation was not her style. Instead, she opted for underhanded tactics. I had spotted the drone zooming by before, but I thought it was merely a prank. Now I understood I wasn't up against a neighbor. I was facing a threat. I grabbed a pair of binoculars and sprinted to the old water tower. Ben followed, eyes narrowed in determination. At the top, I could see it, a silver dot twisting in the air before vanishing over the trees. My breathing faltered momentarily as I focused on where it landed, right in Susan's meticulously manicured backyard. She stood there, arms crossed, a smirk dancing across her lips as she conferred with a couple of HOA cronies. I could hear their laughter from where I stood, and it stirred something deep within me. With all my anger pent up, I marched down, calmly knocking on her door, but I felt a storm within. "What do you want?" Susan opened the door, feigning sweetness. "This drone of yours needs to stop," I warned, trying to maintain an even tone. "It's violating our privacy." Her laughter echoed back, cold and mocking. "Oh, Tom, if you're not doing anything illegal, why be concerned? It's just a drone. Lighten up. I'll press charges if it happens again." I shot back, my resolve hardening. She slammed the door in my face, and I stood there for a moment, teeth clenched. Back at our barn, my mind raced with a plan. I whistled low, summoning my loyal companion, Fury, the bald eagle I had rescued years ago. Her sharp face peered down from the rafters, a fierce protector. When I mentioned a job, her wings rustled, ready for action. The next morning, I set a trap. With a trail cam aimed at the greenhouse, I waited with bated breath. At precisely 7:12 a.m., the drone returned, buzzing over the chicken coop, surveying my crops, then heading toward the house. I stepped out, rake in hand, swinging at the phantom invader. It dodged effortlessly, taunting me as it shot skyward just beyond my reach. Fury screeched from within the barn, her fierce nature kicking into high gear. I captured video evidence and followed the drone's path as it landed on Susan's patio. But she had reinforcements this time. Two fellow homeowners huddled around a tablet, chuckling as they watched the footage of our lives. I felt a fire ignite within. If she wanted a war, she'd get one. I rigged motion sensors to the porch lights that night, feeding Fury fresh trout to keep her sharp. By dawn, my plan sped into action. Fury perched atop the silo, attention locked on the sky. When the drone returned, the motion sensors triggered the lights, flashing red like a warning beacon. Fury launched into the air, a winged missile of vengeance and righteousness. I felt a rush of pride as I watched her dive, sharp eyes locked onto her quarry. It was a good moment until I heard the clank, a rotor brought down to earth, the drone's body crashing into ground like a fallen warrior. My war was only just beginning. When I pulled the device apart, the truth hit me harder than a hammer. This was a high-definition camera, a mic, and a hidden hard drive laden with hours of footage. Not only of my property, but of our neighbors, their private lives laid bare before Susan's eyes. I had uncovered her operation, the surveillance empire she had meticulously built on a foundation of invasion and fear. Rushing to the sheriff felt like a gamble. He laughed at my Eagles takedown, but concern etched his brow as he scrolled through the footage. "I'll look into it, Tom, but you know I can't tread too heavily." Then word spread like wildfire through our small town, outrage brewing in nearly every household. People were furious, neighbors felt violated, and Susan was their unifying enemy. But rather than retreating, Susan twisted the knife a little deeper, backing herself into a corner like a wounded animal. The next morning, a low rumble filled the air, the peace shattered by an ominous presence, a colossal drone adorned with blinking lights and 8 whirring rotors. It soared overhead like a monstrous predator, a symbol of her escalation. This was no longer about petty spying. This had morphed into a battle for domination. I called in backup my cousin Mike, a retired Air Force drone tech, who was always up for a challenge. He arrived with a grin and coffee in hand, instantly sizing up Fury like she was an ace pilot. Together, we fashioned a harness for her, one that would allow her to deliver small payloads with precision. Our test flights went smoothly, and I could feel the anticipation building as we honed her skill. The next day, when Susan's beast of a drone arrived, I knew we were prepared. Fury took to the sky, my heart racing in time with her wings. It was game on. Fury soared above the treetops, her sharp eyes scanning the sky for the monstrous drone. Anxiety coursed through me as the whirring noise of 8 rotors filled the air. This was the moment we had prepared for, and I couldn't let it slip away. The drone hovered like a predator, sweeping the area with its camera. I held my breath, heart pounding as I watched, praying everything we had trained would pay off. I signaled Fury with a sharp whistle. She immediately banked left, weaving through the sky, hidden among the clouds. The drone swung lower, cocky from its power. My grip tightened on the remote control, the last check on the tailgate system meant for Fury's harness. A cable attached to the harness dangled below her, a small net strategically rigged, ready to ensnare the enemy. "Now, Fury," I commanded, and she dove, aiming straight for the beast. The air blurred around her as the ground rushed closer. The drone adjusted its position, sensors whirring an alarm, but it was too late. Fury released a net, the gossamer threads flinging out like a spell cast in desperation. Come on, come on," I muttered, urgency spilling from my lips as the net wrapped around a rotor. The drone sputtered, its altitude dropping dangerously fast. In a panic, it began to spin wildly, tried to shake off the net before crashing into a cornfield, stuck and sputtering in protest. I knew this moment wouldn't go unnoticed. I sprinted toward the wreckage, adrenaline coursing through me. I could see the thermal imaging camera still flickering with a faint glow even as I approached. But just as I reached for the unconscious drone, it suddenly whirred to life again, its rotors slowly starting to spin. I froze, realizing that Susan had uploaded a failsafe. I had to act quick. "Fury!" I shouted, but she was already peeling away into the sky, circling back. The drone's camera was trained on me now, and while I felt exposed, I couldn't back down. I ripped the panel off, frantically looking for the power source, so I could shut it down once and for all. Then I heard a shout. "Tom!" It was Ben, barreling toward me, eyes wide. "Get out of there." In an instant, I glanced backwards and my heart sank. Another drone, even larger, was descending from the trees. A shadow within the sun, the massive silhouette of Susan's technological raft looming. "Run!" Ben yelled, and we bolted just as the air whistled with a menacing sound. The air erupted with a barrage of loud blasts, like fireworks gone wrong. "Go!" I shouted, as I felt the heat of something was past my head. Ben ducked low, and we ducked behind a fallen log. Is this her answer to sticking to our lives? I whispered, panting. This isn't just spying anymore. Looks like she declared war, Ben replied grimly, wiping sweat from his brow. We needed a plan and fast. We can't let her have these drones. What if she has more? I risked a glance back at the down drone, the one currently being smothered beneath the thrashing net and threatening to explode. Fury was soaring overhead, her sharp eyes scanning the second drone above us. This one equipped with flares that lit the sky. Just then, inspiration struck. Ben, that second drone. I need you to distract it. Keep it busy. I'll disable the one on the ground. He nodded, determination lighting his face. On it. Just be careful, all right? With that, Ben darted out into the open, waving his arms wildly. Hey, Susan, over here. The drone twisted toward Ben, lights flashing angrily as it spun to follow his movements. I couldn't believe the bravado he was showing, but it gave me the opening I needed. Rushing back to the grounded drone, I could feel the vibrations from the buzzing rotors under my fingers. I located the battery compartment. A detonation waiting to happen. A quick twist, and I pulled the power cable free. The drone shuddered, but didn't go out yet. Tom, look out! Ben shouted. I tossed a glance behind me and saw the giant drone speeding straight towards me, its camera focused, and its mission clear. She wasn't just after the drone she lost. She was after us, heart leaping. I dove away just as it swooped low, the wind from its churning blades whipping my hair back as it swung past me. The sound of a clank caught my ear. I blinked, realizing I still had the small drone in my hand. I'd pulled the power, but it seemed determined not to go quietly. A desperate idea ignited in my mind as plans began to form. I hurriedly ripped off the camera, determined to gather evidence of Susan's criminal escapade. Just as I pocketed the SD card, I turned to see Fury launching into the air again, diving after the giant drone with unmatched fury. Wings up, Fury! I cried, feeling hope surge. She was pure dark elegance against the sporadic drone lights. She wouldn't give up. The larger drone released a dozen emergency flares, lighting up the sky like fireworks. But Fury soared above the chaos, dodging through the explosions with grace. Time slowed as I watched her. She was in her element. Then she swooped low, as if preparing for one last attack, only to be confronted by the onslaught of flares. Fury let out a battle cry that echoed in my ears. It felt like a declaration of war. Do it, Fury! I shouted, willing her to disrupt the drone again. With unyielding focus, she charged in, wanting to finish this fight. But she wasn't alone anymore. I had my plans too. I leaped back into action, daring to take the fight to Susan head-on. Enough as to end. I screamed, knowing the stakes had escalated beyond anyone's limit. As the drones battled in the skies above, hearts racing, something huge shifted within the neighborhood. This would not merely be about spying or surveillance. This was about defending what was ours and reclaiming our peace. Fury's wings cut to the smoke-filled sky, undeterred as the flares exploded around her. I could feel the power building within her. She was unleashed, and the chaos only seemed to fuel her fury. Come on, girl. You've got this. I shouted, adrenaline coursing through my veins. The larger drone continued to unleash flares in a frenzied attempt to take her down, but she danced through the flames like a seasoned warrior, showcasing her skills in a way I had never seen before. Look out! Ben yelled. The massive drone pivoted sharply, aimed directly at me as it zeroed in. My heart dropped. Fear gripped me, but I couldn't just cower behind the fallen log. Ben, distract it! I shouted. He nodded, rushing back into the open, waving his arms and shouting, Hey, Big Ugly, why don't you pick on some of your own size? The colossal drone's cameras shifted toward him, the lights flickering in response as it zeroed in on Ben. Tom, now! He yelled, and I seized my moment. I sprinted toward the grounded drone, heart racing. Quickly, I pulled out the SD card, my mind whirring with the gravity of the evidence we now held. It was enough to expose Susan and her shady dealings, enough to shut her down for good. I sucked in a sharp breath, urgency propelling me forward. Time felt as if it were slipping away. I looped around the fallen drone, searching for anything I could use against Susan's larger menace. My fingers brushed against something metallic, a small explosive charge, left in the compartment. Ben! I yelled. I've got an idea. He glanced over, confusion and concern etched on his face. What are you planning? I'll lure it in, get it close to the ground. I called, adrenaline surging. But no time to argue. Just trust me. Before Ben could respond, I snatched a rock from the ground and hurled it toward the giant drone. The projectile struck its side, and a loud whirring echoed back, the drone swerving toward my direction, blades churning furiously. The moment it turned away from Ben, Fury swept in, darting low and raking her talons across the exposed underbelly of the colossal drone. It faltered slightly but quickly regained its stability. I held my breath, the tension twisting within me as the drone reeled back. This was my chance. "Fury, follow me," I shouted, sprinting into the open. I couldn't allow it to leave without getting the explosive charge into the fray. "Right here. Let's finish this." With piercing speed, Fury swooped down, encircling the drone before making her climb. I sprinted toward the grounded drone's compartment, fumbling with the explosives, eyes darting to the impending threat. The menacing whir of rotors grew louder as the drone surged toward us, relentless in its approach. "Fury, now," I commanded. In one graceful motion, she executed a perfect dive, dropping straight as an arrow. Just before the massive drone could retaliate, she clipped one of the rotors. A loud crack echoed across the field. With terrifying precision, it tilted dangerously, struggling to stay level. This was the opening I needed. I rushed forward, planting the explosive charge against the drone's chassis with trembling hands. "Tom, it's coming back," Ben shouted, his voice rising with urgency. "Fury!" I cried, feeling time swirl as the moment hung in the balance. The drone's lights blinked wildly, and the ground shook beneath us as it began to fall. "Now, get to safety," I yelled at Ben, sprinting back, just as the massive drone veered closer, its menacing shadow swallowing us whole. Then the world erupted. The ground shook as the charge detonated, ripping the drone apart. A blinding flash illuminated the landscape, sending debris spiraling into the sky. Sheets of metal glinted in the sunlight as what remained crashed to the ground. "Tom!" Ben's voice pulled me back from the initial shock. I staggered, blinking away the dust from my eyes. The scene before us morphed into a surreal tableau, an explosion of chaos where once Susan's oppression loomed. But in the aftermath, I saw it. The second drone, still airborne, spinning in a chaotic spiral, its operator struggling to regain control in the debris storm. "Fury!" I called, my heart racing as I stepped back into the fray. She was alive, soaring like a comet, diving down as she collided with the last drone with unmatched ferocity, finally delivering the blow that swept it from the sky. As the dust settled, I turned to Ben, breathless and exhilarated. We did it. We really did it. But just then, we heard the crunch of gravel. I looked up, heart plummeting, as Susan stepped out from the trees, fearlessness magnified in her eyes. The smirk was gone, replaced by a deep-seated rage. Her fury rippled through the air, raw and palpable. "It's not over," she growled, her voice sharp with venom. "You may have won this battle, but I'm far from defeated." "We'll make sure of that," I declared, standing tall. I held the SD card tightly in my hand, evidence of everything she had done laid bare. "This ends here." Her eyes flickered with uncertainty for a moment, but her defiance returned like a force of nature. Just then, sirens echoed in the distance. Someone had called the authorities, the neighbors drawn to the commotion. "That's right, Susan," I pressed. "There's nowhere left to hide. Your reign of terror ends now." But as the officers arrived, Susan sneered, an unsettling calm washing over her. "You think they'll believe you? Just wait until I tell them what you've been doing out here. It's your word against mine." In that instant, the reality of it hit home. The flares from her drone still burned in the sky, a chilling reminder of the lengths she would go to protect her twisted agenda. For a moment, doubt flickered in my mind. But the sound of Fury's wings soaring overhead, free and proud, filled me with purpose. The truth doesn't lie, Susan, and I've got the proof. With that, the sirens wailed louder, and the deputies stormed toward us, determined to uncover the story that lay at the heart of our quiet little town. As they apprehended Susan, her fury flared. "This isn't over," she shouted, her voice cracking. But I stood firm, knowing that I had the evidence to back every claim. Ben and I exchanged a glance, relief washing over us like a tidal wave. But I couldn't shake the feeling that this confrontation wouldn't be the last. Susan was relentless, and as she was placed in the back of the cruiser, I could see it in her eyes, the promise of revenge, the certainty of her return. But for now, things were quiet again. The aftermath fell heavily in those early moments, but the shadows of conflict had waned. I turned to the crowd that had gathered, faces wide-eyed and anxious. We protected our home, I asserted, knowing communities rise together against tyranny, and we will always stand guard. With that, the officers continued their investigation. Fury flew high above, still my steadfast guardian. No matter what happened next, I knew this was just the beginning, and our resolve would only grow stronger from here on out. Sometimes it takes a battle of wings and rotors to remind you what freedom truly means, and this time we had soared higher than ever before. In that moment of darkness, we had found our light, and I knew that Susan's reign was destined to crumble. The echoes of our victory would resonate long after, an unforgettable reminder that not only do we fight for ourselves, we fight for each other as well.